Hey, what is going on, Brick Squad? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today it is Wednesday and we got Matt's Mind. If you guys are brand new or unfamiliar with this video series, basically it's a Q&A series. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you go ahead and put them down below in the comment section. Of course, drop a like on the video before we go and get started. Now, before we go further, I do want to also let you guys know that tomorrow night around maybe 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing my In-Access live stream for the week, building the first tower, and that'll be the main focus of this coming In-Access segment. And then Friday we will of course have a video, and Saturday will be the In-Access update. First question for today comes from MJ Bricks. What is your favorite episode of the Clone Wars? Now, when it comes to picking a favorite episode, I can't really choose a specific episode, like a numerical episode in a season. Instead, I kind of have my favorite arcs. One of my favorite arcs is definitely going to be Umbara, especially with Krell. I think that was a really unique twist. Obviously, Krell is like the super bad, not good person. And then gradually over time during the campaign in the 501st, they sort of come to recognize this, and I think it's definitely showing some humanity in these clones. Now, obviously, Krell has that mentality of, clones are expendable. I don't care. They're not actual people. And obviously, I think as Star Wars fans, we can all agree that the clones, when they do die, we do feel some sort of emotion. So it was cool to see that side of it. I think that whole Umbara arc, especially the episode where they go ahead and actually arrest Krell and put him in the prison, and then obviously he does get executed, is definitely one of my favorite arcs. I do have to say, among other arcs in the Clone Wars, now I do have to say in terms of other arcs in the Clone Wars, I'm a huge fan of the Mandalore arcs, obviously with Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan. I think that was really cool, sort of unique growth there. And then I think the last arc of my top three is definitely got to be the Ahsoka arc, obviously towards the end, which we sort of were left on the edge of our seats for, and obviously it's something that we're going to be learning a lot more about in the new coming Clone Wars season. But the Ahsoka arc was definitely very emotional, probably the most emotional arc from Clone Wars fans, so those three definitely got to be my favorite. Next question comes from Lego Panther 21. This is a question from Matt's Mind, episode 14. If you had one chance to make a massive mock, what would you do? Now, I've talked about this a lot, actually, surprisingly, and I think if I had to choose one mock, like if I had unlimited room, unlimited money, I think I would definitely do a giant sort of minifig scale Scarif, like huge minifig scale AT-ACTs everywhere, giant shuttles, platforms. In my opinion, Scarif is the best action sequence in all of Star Wars. I absolutely love it. Of course, it's like this sort of tropical sandals Jamaica area, so it's got really nice lush vegetation. It's very intriguing stuff going on there, and I think Scarif has definitely got to be my favorite battle of all time from Star Wars, and I'd love to revisit that. The last Scarif mock I made was a 3x3 base plate, and it wasn't anything too crazy or too impressive. It was very simple. I would love to go back to it, have the money to do a Citadel tower, obviously all the walls, all the Imperial installations, all the landing pads, everything like that. That would be a super cool, super fun project to make. Next question here comes from Sphere Bricks. Do you believe that LEGO Star Wars has played a part of LEGO's success? Absolutely. I think LEGO Star Wars is still consistently one of the top 3, top 4 licensed themes that LEGO has done, and Star Wars is one of the biggest themes in the entire world. You could make the argument that it revolutionized the film genre and the sci-fi fantasy, whatever you want to call it. I think Star Wars is a big reason why LEGO is so successful as it is. Obviously, there are tons and tons of Star Wars fans out there who do love toys. Obviously, I think everyone watching this, when you were a kid, you played with Star Wars toys, whether that be like Hasbro or toy lightsabers or even LEGO Star Wars. Now, that's not to say I don't think LEGO would be where it is without LEGO Star Wars. I just think it sort of would have taken a little bit more time, if that makes sense, because I do believe Star Wars has played a huge integral role in LEGO's success in the past. I think Star Wars is definitely one of those themes that attributes a lot of LEGO's success to itself, and I gotta say Star Wars, as you guys know, is my favorite theme, so I definitely don't believe I would be into LEGO if it wasn't for Star Wars. Next question comes from Judah Lazily. Hopefully I said that right. If you could make a LEGO set based on any Star Wars ship, tank, starfighter, battleship, speeder, from any of the movies or TV shows, what would it be? So the number one set that I really want that LEGO hasn't made is a UCS Venator. In fact, the designer of the older UCS Star Destroyer has made a custom Venator. There's actually a focus in last week's Matt's Mind, so I won't spend too much time on it, but I think I'd like to see a UCS Venator. In terms of other stuff, I'd love to see like a UCS AT-TE, a UCS AT-AT, and then in terms of Starships go, I really would love for them to remake the UCS X-Wing. I think that'd be great, but as far as like sort of sets that I want from LEGO, that's kind of as far as that goes. Next question comes from Clone Blazer 12. Are you going to be doing a tutorial for your wall design? Now, I've actually gotten a lot of questions about this, surprisingly, so I think because you guys do want it, I think I will. I think I'll make like a step-by-step sort of instruction video on how to make it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about right now, go and check out the most recent week 2 building In-Access video, but the wall came out fantastic. It's completely modular, very, very sturdy, which is always great. So since a lot of people have asked about a tutorial and a how-to video to make that wall, in fact, fact, before I actually start building that next wall, maybe I can film that video while I'm building it, if that makes sense, to give you guys step-by-step sort of tutorial on how to build. So that is definitely coming soon now. Next question comes from Julie Gonzalez. Will you be displaying at Brick Fiesta 2019? Unfortunately not this year. The odds of me going to Brick Fiesta are very, very slim because I had North Carolina, obviously earlier in March of this year, and then I went to Chicago for Celebration. So I have 4 separate trips this year, which is a lot of money, so I have to be very conscious and very responsible. So I don't think I'll be at Brick Fiesta this year, unfortunately, and regardless, if I was, I would not be bringing anything because I'd have to fly. So unfortunately not. Maybe next year though. Next question here comes from Hobby Life. Are there any tips that you would give on making and growing a successful LEGO YouTube channel? Surprisingly, I don't consider myself too much of a successful YouTuber. In order for me to sort of give you advice on how to grow a YouTube channel, I think I'd probably have to be a little bit of a larger channel. But since you asked, I will go ahead and give you some of my tips. Number one is definitely got to be just uploading. I think that once you start putting a lot of videos out there that get some traction, YouTube puts you in the algorithm, it puts you in recommended pages. I think about 60% of my clicks on my videos are from recommended pages. That's when you're watching a video like this, and then on the right column you see a whole bunch of listed recommended videos. That's how the majority of my audience watches my videos, obviously aside from sub notifications, stuff like that. So just uploading and just uploading content as consistently as you can, whether that's once a week, twice a week, 4 videos a week, 5 videos a week. I try to be as consistent. I try to bring a video every single day on this channel just to get, again, more traction and more sort of traffic to the channel. In terms of other advice, if you're specifically talking about building MOCs, I've talked about building MOCs and advice a lot. I'll briefly go over it again. Basically, just sort of know what you're doing, have a plan, and sort of just go through with it. Make sure you are budgeting your money and your parts correctly. And then I guess the only other thing for just YouTube in general is make sure you're having fun with it. I genuinely enjoy the process of filming videos, whether that be from filming on a camera to uploading it onto my computer to editing it to uploading it and stuff like that. So I genuinely have a passion for every step of this process, and that's why I love doing it so much. If it ultimately feels like a pain in your butt when you're making videos, don't do it. Do it for the pure joy, do it for the pure fun, and you'll see some results. Next question comes from Andrew Papada. Hopefully I said that right. Hey Matt, would it be possible to do a side-by-side LEGO comparison for the Clone Phase 2 helmets, LEGO versus AREALIGHT versus CAC? So unfortunately, I don't actually have any actual legitimate LEGO Phase 2, but I do have CAC and I do have AREALIGHT, so I'll go ahead and pull that out for you. I'm using a 501st as a reference for the CAC and then an AREALIGHT for the Phase 2. So basically, right here is the AREALIGHT and right here is the CAC. You guys can see the very distinct differences between the two figures. Again, the one on my right, or your left, I think, the 501st is from Clone Army Customs, and the left right here is from AREALIGHT Customs. Personally, I have come to really like the AREALIGHT figures. I think they look absolutely fantastic. I do have some gripes with the CAC P2 helmets. I think they're not as detailed and not as realistic as AREALIGHT, which is ultimately why I've decided to go with AREALIGHT Phase 2 for the MOC. But here's a side-by-side comparison. I believe both helmets by themselves are around $4 retail, so their price is very, very similar. But in the end, I do recommend going with AREALIGHT more because I do just think that they are slightly more accurate and just look a little bit better. The next question comes from Ace Gamer Studios. If you were to revisit a MOC that you have done, which would it be? I would not revisit Crate or Kessel. I think those are one-time things, especially Kessel. You guys know I sort of lost interest towards the end. I think if I had to go back and redo one MOC to make it just absolutely fantastic, again, I go back to Scarif, sort of relating this to the question earlier in the video. I think there's so much to do on Scarif that I just didn't have the funds or the resources to do at the time I'd made my second Scarif or even my first Scarif. So I would truly love to go back to Scarif, especially with the part collection that I have now, which is significantly light years ahead of what I had at the time. So I'd love to go back, make a tower, obviously make the bases and the doors and all that kind of good stuff. Next question here comes from Jet Bricks. What do you think of the next trilogy of Star Wars movies we'll explore, or what would you like to see explored? So actually, before this video, I think yesterday or the day before, it was officially announced that Benioff and Weiss, who are the Game of Thrones directors and producers, are actually going to be making some Star Wars films. I'm not exactly sure. We do have 3 films announced in 2022, 2024, and 2026. I'm not sure if that's going to be the D&D sort of trilogy, if that makes sense. I do believe that Rian Johnson is still working on doing his sort of stuff after both of their shows are done respectively. Personally, the trilogy or the movies that the Game of Thrones producers are going to be producing, I'd like for them to do an Old Republic style. I'm absolutely in love with Game of Thrones. It is probably my favorite TV show of all time, and Game of Thrones is definitely like a darker sort of theme. It's got a lot of adult, mature themes. Obviously, I think that could really translate well to an Old Republic movie style. I think that'd be great. Obviously, the Old Republic with the old Sith and in the old Jedi Order. I think that'd just be a super cool, unique perspective, seeing not such a light, fluffy side of Star Wars where the good prevails, but seeing the grimy, dirty stuff, sort of like Solo, but just a little bit more to the extreme. And of course, with the Rian Johnson trilogy, I would like for them to just set up a whole new world, and obviously in the same Star Wars universe, after the First Order, after Skywalker, all that good stuff. So I think there's a lot of great content coming very, very soon for us Star Wars fans. Guys, that's gonna wrap up this episode of Matt's Mind. Hope you all enjoyed. Once again, stay tuned tomorrow night for my Anaxis stream. This weekend, I will be building this first tower and getting your guys' thoughts in this week's Anaxis updates. It's gonna be a lot of fun. If you guys are brand new to the channel here, make sure you go ahead and subscribe down below, and of course, click that bell icon. That way you know as soon as my videos go up, and of course, drop a like on the video before we head out. Until next time, guys, it's been your boy Matt, and I'll see you later. Take it easy, fam. Peace.